Hey guys, it's Emilio from Perimeter Church. My sophomore year of high school, I made the varsity soccer team. Now, that might not seem like a big deal to you, but it was a big deal to me because my freshman year, I was on JV, but our varsity ended up being a state runner-up. And going into my sophomore year, a lot of seniors were returning on that team. So to make the team as a sophomore was huge. Only 3 of us made varsity. Now, I tell you that to tell you that my junior year, I looked at our roster and I went ahead and placed everybody where I thought they would play, and I saw that I had a starting job waiting for me at outside mid. And sure enough, as the season started, I was named a starter at that position. I wasn't surprised. I was a returner. I was talented. I was better than other guys who were going to try to play that position. So it made sense. Well, what happened was halfway through the year, I began to goof off in practice. I quit working hard. I quit doing what my coach was asking me to do. And I lost my starting position. I lost it to a guy who wasn't as talented as I was. He wasn't as good with the ball at his feet as I was. But he worked harder. He listened to our coach. He did the little things, the things that I wasn't willing to do anymore. So I lost my position and I got in a fight with my coach, questioning him. I said, how could you possibly think it's a good idea to put him in the game over me? And my coach just looked at me and said, that spot's yours if you want it, but you got to work for it. Well, I didn't work for it. I didn't get my spot back. And I almost quit the team, and luckily I didn't. I didn't make that mistake. But what I can see now looking back is that my coach was humbling me. My pride had got in the way. My pride had kept me from playing the game that I loved. So he was humbling me. I was being humbled. Well, in the passage that I'm going to read to you today, Jesus is talking about that. He's addressing the issue of humility. And he's talking to the religious leaders, to the Pharisees. He's talking to this group of guys who think because they know God's law, who think because they pray a certain way, because they go to temple, that they are better than the rest. So he's talking to them, and he shares this parable. Hear Jesus' words. This is Luke 18, verses 9 through 14. He also told this parable to some who trusted in themselves, that they were righteous and treated others with contempt. 2 men went up into the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee, standing by himself, prayed thus, God, I thank you that I am not like other men, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week. I give tithes of all that I get. But the tax collector, standing far off, would not even lift up his eyes to heaven, but beat his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, but the one who humbles himself will be exalted. You see, Jesus is speaking to these religious leaders, and he's letting them know this truth, that just because you act a certain way does not mean that you will be justified, does not mean that you will be exalted. It takes a humble man. And we get an example of what that person looks like, what a person who lives a life of humility looks like. It's the man who falls on his knees. It's the man who recognizes that he needs God's mercy, who recognizes that he is a sinner, that he is broken, that apart from God, he is nothing. It's the man who recognizes he needs Jesus. We all need Jesus. We all need to be humble. Sometimes we need to be humbled. We need to be humbled because that's what we're called to be. In Mark 10:45, Jesus says, for even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, to give his life as a ransom. The humble man is not the one who brags about what he has done, who brags about how good he is, about his tithing, who brags about how many times in a row they've made it to youth group or how many days they've read their Bible. The humble man is the one who falls on his knees, who knows that he needs Jesus. who knows that he's not better than anyone, who knows that he is lost, but in Jesus has been found. I hope and I pray that you will go back, that you'll read these verses, and that they might humble you. Ask yourself the question, are you the Pharisee in this story, or are you the tax collector? Who do you want to be? What type of follower do you want to be? Do you want to be the one who thinks highly of himself, or do you want to be the one who thinks highly of Jesus? Because I'll say this, the one who thinks highly of Jesus, the one who knows he is broken, the one who is humbled, is the one who will be exalted, the one who will be justified. Love y'all. Praying for you. Peace.